If you couldn't tell from the abstract, I'm Lillia. This is Phi design. And as you can see, failing successfully. I'll get to that way at the end. First, I need to explain what phi is, though, because if you're anything like the lots of people I've surveyed, you don't know what it is. So it is a constant that's equal to 1 plus the square root of 5 all over 2, which is approximately 1.618. And it's found with something like this, where the ratio of b over a is equal to the ratio of a over a plus b. And it can also be found with this really annoying limit statement, which makes it the most irrational of the irrational numbers because it converges the slowest. And so that's an interesting fact. You can also find phi by taking the limit statement of the n plus 1th Fibonacci number over the nth Fibonacci number, which is a really handy way of just kind of like estimating how close phi or something is to phi without using a calculator, which I don't know why you would need to do that. But so why phi? It looks nice. No one really knows why. I'm not sure if there have been studies done, but there's no literature out there about why the ratio of 1 to phi looks nice, but it does for some reason. And it shows up in nature. It has been showing up in nature. It shows up in nature in new ways every day, and it also is in history. So some researchers place phi's discovery around 500 BCE. We know for sure that it was discovered, known by 300 BCE because Euclid defined it. And it's also been found way before that in the Giza pyramids, about 2,000 years before Euclid. And the length of the triangular face to the half of the base is 1 to phi, as you can see, except that there's no evidence that the builders knew about phi. So the first time we see an artist consciously using phi is with Leonardo da Vinci. This is an illustration that was found in the 1509 Divine Proportion book, so he clearly knew about it, and it's shown up in lots of paintings after and before. But what about all of those artists who used it before, and like the Giza pyramid builders who didn't know about phi, but it shows up anyway? So I asked around 50 students to draw a rectangle that looks nice to them. And then I analyzed the results and got this graph, where it's the ratio of the side lengths. So the median isn't too far away from phi. And as you can see, the second quartile right here is densely packed around phi. So, clearly some people are drawing it. And interestingly enough, of the 43 people who responded, 8 of them knew about phi in the context that I was talking about. Only 2 of them drew rectangles that were very close to phi. So choosing phi subconsciously. Even if you're not an artist, you can still subconsciously recognize phi. So I asked people to vote which one of these was the best and which one was the worst. And these were the results. So 1 is a square. 2 has a ratio of 1 to phi. 3 has a ratio of 1 to 1 over phi. And 4 has a ratio of 1 to 3 phi. And as you can see, 2 is the best and the least worst. So I spent most of this semester trying to find phi in interior design, because I am a math and science person, and I really like interior design, but it kind of annoys me when I'm like, okay, I know that this looks good, but why does it look good, and how can I make it look better? So I wanted a way to quantify interior design, and I was thinking, well, if we have this ratio that just looks really good, wouldn't having more of that in a design make it look better? So I thought of a couple ways to do this. The first is with shelves or some other visual aspect to divide a wall up into a golden rectangle. And you can also do a similar thing with furniture and the floor plan, or you can use furniture that has golden rectangles in it or curtains. So why doesn't this work? Simple, one word, practicality. It's just not easy. You can get custom-made shelves, But if you're getting custom-made shelves to fit a wall, you generally want the whole wall, just because of storage reasons. And arranging your floor plan to work with Phi generally means that it's not working with just logic and how you walk around a room. And you can try to find furniture that comes in golden rectangles, but really only tables do. And those are only like really big tables. So, and you also don't have tables in most of the rooms of your house. So just to show the extent to which there isn't Phi in interior design, I used WorldCat, which is a database of over 10,000 libraries catalogs. So if WorldCat doesn't have it, it probably doesn't exist. So if you search interior design, you get a really big number. Similar with Phi, if you search them both, you get 157 results. And almost all of these are history of fraternity houses, a book called Roadrunner, which as far as I can tell has nothing to do with Phi and interior design in the context that I'm talking about, and scientific papers about protein folding. So there's no literature out about Phi and interior design. There is, however, one place I've been able to find it, and that is Hotel Indigo. And we have one in Newton over by the Weston line. So their designer had a similar idea to me and said, oh, well, this looks really nice, so why don't we try to make like a relaxing spa-like hotel, and you know, the front desk can have like the Fibonacci swirl and it will look nice, except that as far as I can tell, they don't use it in their rooms. And if you look at customer reviews, it doesn't reflect the like spa-like feel, and no one comments on Phi. So it doesn't really work in interior design, but it does work in two-dimensional art. So I'm sure everyone recognizes this picture, and I'm sure most people would agree that it's a nice picture. And as you can probably guess from my presentation, these are all golden rectangles and golden grids. And you know, I'm not saying this is the reason why it looks really good. I'm saying that it probably doesn't hurt. And there are also other paintings that show it. And we're pretty sure that Botticelli didn't know about the golden rectangle, so this was probably part of that subconscious thing. And you know, this, and then Dali's Sacrament of the Last Supper. So the canvas that he painted it on is actually 1:5. And as you can see, the tabletop is right along that line. And just a little bit bigger. The shape in the background is a dodecahedron, which is one of the 5 Platonic solids, which is somehow related to Phi. I haven't been able to find a good explanation of this, but it also has pentagonal sides, which is very closely related to Phi because you can fit a golden triangle in it. You can, if you inscribe a pentagon inside of it, the ratio of some of the lengths creates Phi, and this goes on infinitely. And it also shows up in modern day stuff, like all of these logos, and there are actually most car brand logos have Phi in them. So clearly Phi does really well in 2D art. So failing successfully. I set out trying to find Phi in interior design, and I didn't. So that's how I failed. And then I succeeded by disproving my hypothesis and coming up with ways and then disproving those some more, and then looking in 2D art, and it's successful there. So, you know, clearly Phi has some good things and some bad things, and can be applied 2D art, but practicality gets in the way. So, thanks. Yeah. Okay. That.
All right, we have time for questions.
Do you think that in terms of interior design, you can have the golden triangle in a shading aspect too, like not necessarily in shapes, but in a ratio of depth more so than to just the general structure of something?
I think so. I mean, I think that we can apply Phi in like so many more ways than I've talked about and that anyone has ever thought of. Whether or not it like works or creates any noticeable change, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I thought one of the coolest things that you talked about was like how this is an intersection of your interests, right? Like math and science and then interior design. even though it kind of didn't work out in interior design, what you're saying is basically it doesn't work out because it's not practical, it's not logical, but it's really pleasing to us to
Yeah.
see in art. Like, I mean, that just makes me think a million things. Like, art isn't practical. Did you, like, dig into that at all, that, like, the difference between art and then math and science, kind of?
I thought about how, like, obviously art needs to be somewhat practical. Like, you can't have a painting look like part of it belongs in Dali's Melting Clocks and part of it belongs in Dali's Sacrament of the Last Supper. Like, that doesn't really work. But I haven't gone really in depth into, like, the science of art. So that would be interesting. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you used World Cat to look for
Mhm.
literature that connected the two, and then you spoke with Practicality to go.
Mhm.
Was there any other things that you did that led you to the conclusion that it wasn't, that, it's not practical in interior design, or was that the extent of it?
I like played around with a software called Sweet Home 3D that I don't know if I used any pictures from it in this slideshow, but I tried like arranging the room that I was working on for my project using Phi, and it's just really hard to like make a room that uses Phi that says, I want to live there. So.
So you didn't have a reaction like you did with looking at different paintings or drawings or anything?
So I was really lucky, and the pre-existing shelving units that I have, if you put two of them on the like only long uninterrupted wall, you are left over with a golden rectangle. So that was really lucky, but I haven't had any luck with like making a design that like looks logical and looks nice using Phi.
I want the going successfully expression.
Thanks. Yeah.
What is your big takeaway from? What was your big takeaway from this whole?
From like this experience, or from this specific?
For your specific.
That sometimes things can be disproved for really obvious reasons that you didn't think about until like 3 months into it, but you can still work with it and expand.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.